Are you frustrated in playing chess? One of the problems that I see many of the beginners face is that they do not know how to play as black because they tend to be in the very passive position at which they face a lot of attack from white. But worry not, because today I'm going to teach you a very useful opening for black, which is the French defense. French defense is a chess opening that is widely used by many players from the beginners even to the grandmaster level. So one of the most iconic grandmasters that use the opening is GN Susan Poga. She is a 4-time women's world chess champion and also 5-time Olympiad champion. So I think this is a very strong proof to us that if we use this French defense wisely, it can be a really strong weapon. So just to give you some of the idea of this French defense is that this opening was used by French players in the games against London back in 1834, and that's why it is named as French defense. Let us take a look at some of the advantages of French defense. This opening is a very comfortable opening for beginners because it is easy to play, and it has some very solid defense to play against white. So it's not easy for white to invade. Secondly, it also avoids some of the highly theoretical mainlines such as Ruy Lopez and Q-Cop piano. Thirdly, it provides sharp counter-attack opportunities for black to play against white. So without further ado, let me show you how does this French defense looks like. So first of all, French defense starts by white playing pawn to e4. Black is going to respond by e6. The most universal response from white at this position is that pawn d4. The idea was simple, is to conquer the squares at the center and as well open the diagonal for this bishop. So at this position, black is going to reply by playing pawn to d5. From here, there are two possible variations. One of it is the exchange variation, another one is the advanced variation. So today we are just going to focus on the advanced variation. This is a strong move by white because the pawn right here is gaining control of these two squares, which are usually the comfortable square for knight and bishop. So black had the intention to disrupt the pawn structure of white at this position. So it can disrupt the pawn structure by playing pawn to c5 and attack the pawn on d4. Notice that if white captures the pawn, black can easily capture back with bishop. And now this helps the development of black, and at this position it's logical that white would not like to capture the pawn. Instead, it can play pawn to c3 in order to strengthen the position of the pawn on d4. So by now you should have realized that d4 is a really important square in French defense at which black would like to attack and white would like to defend. So knight to c6 will be a good move for black because it's further on put on the pressure on this d4 square, and white can in turn defend by playing knight to f3. Now black can play a very aggressive move by playing queen to b6. This adds on the attack on d4, and also at the same time black is aiming at this b2 pawn. This actually limits the movement of this bishop because once white move his bishop, then black can capture the pawn, and now white is in trouble. So a more logical move for white to do at this moment is develop the light square bishop with the idea of castling later on. So for now, black has 3 attackers on this pawn and white has 3 defenders. So black will need one more attacker in order to break down the pawn at d4. So this can be done by developing the knight, and by developing the knight to this f5 square and attack on d4. So if white is not careful, then black can easily destroy the structure of white at the center. So to to further on protect the center, the d4 square, I would like to play knight in order to support, to make both sides balance at this moment. So you can see French defense provides a very good pawn structure for black and a very good defense at the moment. And it is not much thing for white to do at the moment in order to attack black. As you can see, most of the time, black is on the position of attacking. So this is one of the benefits of French defense. So just give you some of the plans that may be executed later on in the middle game. So black can play bishop to e7, then white might be castling, so black castles, with the idea later on to put this pawn to f6 and open out this file and attack king side. This may be one of the plans that can be executed. Another plan could be black focus on the attack on queen side. There's another possibility. So this part solely depends on what's your plan in the middle game. So that is basically about the main line of our French defense. However, there is a very interesting move I would like to discuss here. Some of the white player, they may play bishop to d3. And this moment, maybe some of the black player, they will think that this is a mistake since the bishop blocked the queen from protecting the pawn. So they will capture the pawn at d4 square. But this is a very terrible mistake made by black, because white can simply check and attack the queen. So there is nothing to do, there is nothing black can do to protect the queen but move the king. So now black has lost its queen. So remember not to capture the pawn at this moment, but instead you can develop your bishop. Then if white castles, then now it is safe to capture the pawn, because bishop can no longer check the king. So I would like to also draw your attention to some of the disadvantages of this opening. First of all, it will give black some very limited space. As you can see, this pawn right here is a very strong pawn that containing these two squares. So black actually cannot play its pieces on these two forbidden squares. So black's pieces have very limited space to go. Secondly, black's light square bishop is blocked. It cannot go out because of the pawn. And thirdly, if black does not know how to attack in this position, it can be very passive for black. So I would like to encourage you to really understand the main idea of this French defense and really study it properly in order so that you can know how to attack as black and you won't be the passive side of French defense. So later on in the video, we are going to discuss about some of the common tactics that can be faced in French defense. So you may pause the video right here and solve the tactics and check your answer with the discussion later on.
I'll be explaining the first tactic that you can use playing as black in order to win an extra piece over the opponent. Basically, the main idea here is for black to attack white or rather trade pieces with white, and eventually black will have one extra pawn piece compared to white. So from this position with black to move, black's first move is pawn takes d4, attacking these two squares over here. So the most appropriate response for white is knight takes e4. After that, black will play knight takes e5. White will respond by playing pawn takes e5, and black will play queen to h4 check. At this position, the black's queen is actually checking the king and attacking the knight here at the same time. And as for the knight here, we can see that there's actually one queen that's defending the knight and two pieces that's attacking the knight. Therefore, it's obvious that black is winning over this piece. So After moving away from check, all black has to do is queen takes d4. And eventually we can see that there's actually 6 pieces of white's pawn and 7 pieces of black's pawn. This means that black has 1 extra piece compared to white.
The second tactic in the French defense will be to take the queen on the white side. We'll be playing as the black side on this side of the board. So the first move will be using our bishop and taking the knight on c5, and then the pawn on the d4 should then take our bishop. We'll move our knight to g4, and the bishop from the white side will move to g5. We'll then use our bishop and take the knight on f3, and the pawn on the white side will then take our bishop. We'll move our rook to e1, which will then bait the queen, and the queen will eat it. And the next move will be moving our knight to f3. On this part, we have carefully planned this so that the king will have to move, and so then our knight will definitely take the queen on their side. This is the second tactic of the French defense. Thank you.
Third tactic for French defense. The purpose of this tactic is to take the queen on the white side. Okay, first we move the rook to f3 to threat the queen, and then the rook will be attacked by the pawn. To continue the threat, we move the bishop to f4. Okay, here is two possibilities. The first possibility is the queen will move to the d3, and then what we can do is we took the rook at d2, and the rook will be taken by the queen. Next, we move queen to d4. Here we can see that on the next move we can take the queen by checking the king. Okay, the next possibility is the rook will be taken by the pawn at f4, and we took the pawn at f4 and check the queen, and also we can take the queen.